Hello everybody, I am back, and today we have another look at a Destiny 2 weapon for y'all. This time it is the new exotic scout rifle, Wicked Implement. Let's take a really quick look at how to get Wicked Implement, but also some of the more specific things about the weapon that I think are worth knowing. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. Let's go ahead and get started. Starting with how to get Wicked Implement, you're going to want to get all three of the destination-specific exotic fish, being the Aeonian Alpha Beta from the EDZ, the Vexing Placoderm from the Nessus, and the Whispering Mothcarp from Savathun's Throne World. You don't actually need all of these, only one member of the Fire Team will, since you're going to want a Fire Team to actually complete the next step in Deep Dives, but once you have those dunked, you'll get 3 Broken Blades, which you can interact with 3 statues in Deep Dives, and then after the second encounter, you can go off to the side and split away to the secret mission portion. After a certain point, there will be a 10-minute timer, of which you need to defeat the final boss within that 10-minute timer, or restart from the Deep Dives portion, not the fishing portion. But if you successfully kill the final boss within the allotted time, you'll find yourself rewarded with Wicked Implement. A little trick for the boss fight, if you don't already know, is bring Divinity. It makes the Tormentor significantly easier to kill, so good luck with that. And if you need a more specific guide, I'm not going to do that in this video just for time's sake, but there are some really good guides out there. But for the scout rifle itself, let's start by looking at Wicked Implement's perks. The first perk is called Creeping Attrition, and it's activated by rapid headshots, and that will cause further headshots to apply stasis slow to targets. As with most perks in the game that apply slow, you can actually continue to apply it to stack it up in order to freeze your target. And the intrinsic trait, which is Tithing Harvest, causes slowed and frozen targets that you defeat with Wicked Implement to drop a stasis shard, which then tracks to you from just about anywhere and will reload the weapon. The Catalyst, which at the time of writing, recording, and editing does not currently drop, but may be available by the time this is actually uploaded, depending on how long it takes me, will cause collected stasis shards to slowly overflow the magazine. I believe currently it looks like it will be dropping from Deep Dives, but we'll know for sure once it's actually dropping in-game. Also, it looks like any stasis shard from any source is able to activate the reload, and I assume also the overload perk, so if your teammates or you have a different way to activate stasis shards, you can get a lot more synergy out of the weapon for more free reloads. But the biggest unique portion of Wicked Implement is its interactions with slows and freezes. See, other primary weapons in Destiny have been able to freeze before, like Cryothesia 77K or weapons with Headstone, but both of those cases require a kill to activate. And in Headstone's case, the freeze is going to be dependent on the positioning of the enemies around where the stasis crystal is spawned. Wicked Implement's slow and freeze mechanic is much more similar to Chill Clip, allowing stacking slow and then freezing a target, and Wicked Implement does not require a kill to do this, just rapid headshots. What's very, very nice about this is that Wicked Implement is therefore able to stun both Overload and Unstoppable champions by itself using just its elemental effects. With Radiant on a solar subclass, or given to you by a teammate using a solar subclass, you can pretty easily make it effective against all types of champions, which is pretty solid, as I'll discuss in a bit, but it does make it basically completely illegal for any champion to be able to move if you can continually shoot headshots with this thing, and you can really keep the freeze stacked up if you have 2 players using Wicked Implement, since you'll be stacking slow even faster from 2 players team-shotting 1 enemy. However, I have also seen that this scout rifle has been a bit divisive since its release. I've seen a lot of people say that it's really, really good, and a lot of people say that it's really, really bad. I've also seen some people say that it's somewhere in the middle, and I agree that it's a little bit on the weak side for most of the game's content, because in a lot of low-level content, scout rifles have struggled, generally because you A, don't need all the range they provide in order to stay safe because enemies do less damage, and B, have slower times to kill using a scout rifle against normal enemies than most other options, because you can get so close, you're able to use close-range weapons much more effectively. In higher-level content, however, like Master and Grandmaster Nightfalls, a lot of players do like the range that scout rifles can provide, since it gives you a lot more distance to work with against enemies, and you're able to play a little more behind cover. The stasis effects on Wicked Implement are also really good in those activities because the crowd control is awesome, and while it's not as overpowered as Strand Suspend is, it's pretty solid since it's on a primary weapon here. I used this scout for several of the Grandmasters in this season's rotation, and I do genuinely think it is very solid in really high-end Nightfalls. The scout is super consistently able to freeze most orange bar enemies since they don't just die on 1 or 2 headshots like in normal content, and some of the larger red bar enemies like Knights are also able to be frozen and shattered for a little bit of more damage with the scout rifle. And again, in lower content, those types of enemies die in just a few headshots, but in GMs, they do have a lot more health to them and are very, very easy to keep locked down with this scout. Champions were also where I thought it shined pretty well, since you're able to stun both Overload and Unstoppable intrinsically, and if you wanted, you could use Radiant against barriers with it, and it's really nice. Now, is it the absolute best Grandmaster Crusher? No, there's still a lot of other really good exotic primaries for Grandmasters like Wish Ender and Quicksilver Storm, but I do think that Wicked Implement is a good addition to Grandmaster loadouts, especially if you want such easy access to stasis effects without running a stasis subclass. Time will tell if it's as good as Wish Ender or Quicksilver Storm, but I would not be surprised if it in the future was considered to be on a similar level to these weapons. Overall, I do think that the Scout Rifle is pretty underwhelming until you get to really high-end content, though, where Scouts become much more usable and much more friendly to the type of activity that you're doing, but once you reach Masters and GMs with it, you will find that it does actually make a pretty convincing case for itself. The gameplay can be very uninteractive at times, just sitting in the back plinking away at enemies, but it can make a lot of GMs, especially longer range ones, easier if you want to add some more easy CC to your loadout, or if you're having issues with a certain section. I would recommend giving it a try, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you might just not like it and then switch back. However, that is all I have for y'all today, so if you liked this video or want to see more, a like and follow are always greatly appreciated ways to support me. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Wicked Implement, and be on the lookout for a few new videos specifically about the Last Wish weapons new rolls, because I'm starting to craft all those, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.